Welcome to the Ride This Out podcast, where we talk about how to improve your mental health and strengthen your connection to nature and your community, all through one simple solution: the bicycle. My name is Zach Golding, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker and mental health therapist. I'll be your host as we discuss the power of pedaling. All right, in this week's session, I talk with Jeremy Raeszler of Panguitch, Utah. I came across Jeremy's Instagram account, Para Gravel Cyclist, and that just didn't add up to me. It didn't make sense. Paraplegic? Like in a wheelchair, not able to use your legs? How do you ride a bike? How does this work? And so I was looking through his photos, looking through his videos, and I was blown away. And so I reached out to him, seeing if he'd be willing to jump on the podcast. I'm so glad he was willing to do that and share his story. I know that you'll be inspired. So think about someone who you can share this with. Share it with them. You know, whoever's going through a difficult time, needs a little extra motivation, because Jeremy will give it to you. So enjoy this week's session and story of Jeremy. All right, Jeremy, thanks so much for joining me on the podcast today. If you want to just start off by introducing yourself a little bit, where you're from, who you are, what you do, just kind of all that good stuff.
Okay, yeah, thank you for having me. So my name is Jeremy Raeszler, and I still have a hard time saying it, but I guess I am a amateur paracyclist now. On February 24th of 2008, I was racing motocross down at the Sandy Valley motocross track in California. I lost control on a jump and tried to correct it. Lost focus because I started focusing on what happened versus what I needed to do to fix it. And I landed on the back tire of the motorcycle. I compressed my spine and severed my spinal cord at the T12 vertebrae, which is at about the belly button level down. I instantly lost feeling. I got flown to the hospital for surgery, and I got out of surgery, and the doctors told me that I'd never walk again, and that they were more concerned about my wife knowing how much her life was going to change by having to take care of me, because I was no longer going to be able to do anything. I'd be lying to say if I didn't believe them. But I did. When I first got home, I spent quite a bit of time laying in bed crying, thinking my life was over. You know, when I got home, you get back into your own territory. It was then that it really hit me what had happened. I didn't think that I could get a glass of water on my own. I couldn't take out the garbage like I used to. I couldn't do the things that I did as a husband for my wife anymore. Mow the grass, change the oil, fix flat tires. But after 2 or 3 days of laying there feeling sorry for myself, I realized if things were going to change, I was going to have to be the one to change it. So I started researching spinal cord injuries on the internet, and learned that there was a possibility through repetition I could make things work again. May not be able to feel them, but I could make them work. And I found a physical therapist that was willing to help me. And after a couple years, I was able to walk with crutches and braces.
Wow.
And then I would say another 4 or 5 years after that, I graduated from the braces to no braces. I still needed, and I still do need, the crutches to walk. I cannot walk unassisted. If I try and balance on just my feet like somebody who doesn't have a spinal cord injury does, I will fall over like somebody just cut down a tree. I can't. I've got no feeling except in my quads and my knees. That is it. But, you know, again, I learned through repetition. I've learned how powerful the mind is in helping us achieve things that we want to achieve. And I can grow muscles in areas where I don't have mind to muscle connection. I can grow my hamstrings. I can strengthen my hip flexors. I can strengthen my core. I can strengthen my calves, my ankles, everything, just by using them repeatedly over and over and over. For me, now it's cycling. But I've also learned if I stop, those muscles go away just as fast as or faster than I was able to build them back up. So
that's amazing. Can I ask you a question about that?
yeah, absolutely.
You can't feel it. So how do you move your legs if you can't feel it? Like, walk me through that mental process.
Okay, so at the beginning, what I would do is I would pull myself up and I would lean against a table. Okay, so just picture yourself standing next to a table with your arms, your elbows locked, pushing down on the table, leaning against it, just standing there, like you're leaning over a counter to talk to somebody. So I would do that. I would stand there until my legs would wobble, and then I would sit down. And then I would stand there till my legs would wobble, and then I would sit down. And that's where I learned through repetition, I could stand there longer. Each time I could stand there longer and longer and longer and longer. It got to the point to where I could stand there so long I didn't want to stand there, so I'd sit down. Kind of like it was before my injury. You get tired standing, so you sit down. And then I went out to the garage and I welded wheels onto another table. And I says, well, God, if I can do that, maybe I can push this table. So I would push the table and then I would drag my feet up to catch up. And I did that back and forth across the garage until eventually, just through repetition, I taught my legs how to move.
That's amazing.
And it got to the point to where I could push the table and walk behind it. Now, I didn't look good doing it. I mean, I was throwing my hips because my hips weren't working. So, I'd throw the leg to the left and I'd throw the leg, the right leg in front. But I was able to actually take steps and push the table without stopping from one end to the other. And that got easy enough to where I would start putting, what do you call those? The Rubbermaid containers, storage containers we all keep stuff in. And I put those on there to add weight to the table to make it harder to push. And that's where I learned just through repetition. My mind knew what my legs were supposed to do, even though there was no connection, and I was teaching my legs what to do. Now, I can still get walking so fast that my legs can't keep up. So, I mean, I've still got to do things fairly slowly. If I'm not paying attention, I can drag a toe. As I'm pulling the leg forward, my toe will catch the carpet when I'm wearing a tennis shoe, and it'll literally trip me, and I'll fall and I'll hit the ground.
Yeah.
And then I got to get back up, and start over. And I'll do that in a store. I'll do that. It doesn't matter where I'm at. That's just part of being a paraplegic, somebody who cannot feel their legs. I know what things are supposed to do, and I've taught them what they need to do. But there's still not that connection. There's still no mind to muscle connection there. I mean, that was severed. So.
Wow.
Yeah. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That just shows you're for one, to just research it and to see that it's even possible, and then to have the determination to do it over and over again. That's pretty remarkable.
For me, and I can't speak for everybody that has a disability, but for me, all I could remember was how my life was before my accident. Okay. I wasn't normal anymore in my mind. I was the oddball. I was one that everybody stared at, and I did not want to be that person. I wanted to blend in like I used to be able to do. I wanted to be able to take the garbage out, and I wanted to be able to mow the grass. fast, and I wanted to be able to do all these things like I used to be able to do. And that was my motivation. I wanted to feel normal.
Yeah.
And I've talked to a lot of other spinal cord injury paraplegics and quadriplegics, and that seems to be what everybody kind of wants. Everybody wants to be normal again. And that's where I'm hoping that through cycling and social media, that I can maybe help somebody else build that motivation to work hard. You know, it's the hard goals that make us feel good, but it's also the hard goals that make us struggle and make us feel like we can't do it. But I'm here to tell you, and setting a hard goal and just chipping away at it, each little bit of progress is progress towards the end result. And when you achieve it, it'll feel better than anything you've ever felt, even before having an injury that affects your life. And then you just had another one, you know, and start over. Keep building off of what you built. It's taken me 15 years. Like I said, this happened in 2008, February 24th of 2008. So here in just a couple, 4 months from now, it's going to be 16 years.
Yeah.
And another thing the doctors told my wife was I would live 10 years. That was the average lifespan at that, 15 years ago. A paraplegic, a spinal cord injury, complete paraplegic average lifespan was 10 years. And I'm into 16 now, and I feel stronger than I ever have. So,
yeah. Defying all odds. That's amazing. I love it. So talk to me about so, you teach yourself how to walk again. You weld up this little, self-made cart. At what point did you have the idea of getting on a bicycle and starting to ride?
So that just happened recently. Being a motocross rider most of my life, my first one, I was so young that my grandpa and my dad had to dig holes in the ground so that I would get the seat down low enough I could get my leg over it. So that's always been in the back, always something that's been ingrained in me my whole life is riding on two wheels. And I've ridden bikes before, but never, just as a kid, I never really thought of it any other way because I was a motocross rider. And 10 years into my injury, I told the wife, I was like, I need to get another motorcycle. I think I can ride one. Of course, she wouldn't let me. And we struggled. We talked back and forth. After a couple more years, we wound up buying a three-wheel motorcycle, a street bike, like a trike.
Mm-hmm.
And that gave me, that just brought back all of the emotions and the memories and the good times that I had. And I'll never forget that feeling of happiness I had as her and I were riding up the mountains, and we went up. I live in southern Utah, in the mountains of southern Utah near Bryce Canyon National Park. And we had decided we needed to go up to Salt Lake City. And I can't remember what we were going there for. We had to go shopping or something. And her and I were sitting at a restaurant eating lunch. And I looked at her and I said, I think I want to see if I can ride a bike. Of course, she rolled her eyes. So this is about 3 years ago. She rolled her eyes again. And so that thought kind of got put on the back burner for a little while longer. And one day when she was back home in Iowa visiting her mom, I thought about that bike again. So I ordered a exercise bike for the house, a Nordic track with iFit on it. And I did that just to see if I could balance. Could I sit on the seat with my feet on the pedal? Could I even get my feet on the pedals? But if I couldn't, at least I had something that I could tell her she could use. That was my thought behind it. But I quickly learned that I set it next to the wall so I could lean against the wall and then throw my leg over it, that I could get up on the seat. And it took a minute for me to get my feet straight on there. And I could I could actually sit on a bicycle seat and push down on the pedals and make them spin circles. And I don't know what the word is. I couldn't believe that I was able to do it. So I just kept at it. You know, again, just from what I learned when I first decided that I didn't want to be stuck in a wheelchair anymore, my feet would always fall off the pedals. So I would have to come up with ways to keep my feet on the pedals. First, it was Velcro straps, and then I graduated into clipless pedals, which is a whole nother story for somebody who can't feel their feet trying to get clipped in and then trying to get unclipped on top of that. But anyway, so I learned how to do that, and I told her that I wanted to see if I could ride the bike outside. So she agreed. We went up to Bryce Canyon National Park, rented e-bikes, ones that had little throttles on them. And I'm not going to lie, I was scared to death that I wasn't going to be able to stop once I got started, because I can't feel my feet when I stop to plant a leg or something. And, but I was able to. I don't know how, but I was able to. And that's when I first felt the freedom of riding a bike. That was the first time since February 24th of 2008 that I felt normal. I was on a bike. My wife was on a bike. We were riding down a path together, passing other people. Those people had no idea that I had a spinal cord injury. They had no idea that I struggled to put socks on every morning. I was no different than they were for the first time in 14 years. And it was such an exhilarating experience. I couldn't get it out of my mind. So we ordered our own e-bikes, and and that's kind of how it started, just on an exercise bike. And then I ordered e-bikes with throttles on them because I can't push off. I can't start on my own. I can't feel, my my hamstrings and my calves, my ankles. So I didn't have the strength to get the bike rolling on its own. And that's just when when you're rolling, you're balanced. So it's easy, especially with one that had a throttle on it, because if I couldn't pedal up a hill, all I had to do was stop pedaling and twist the throttle, and it would, get me up the rest of the way. I put 600 miles on that e-bike that first summer that I had it.
Wow.
I know, right? And from there, I told her that I wanted to try and ride a regular bike. I borrowed one from a friend. It was a gravel bike. And her and I went out. This was in February of this year, February of 2024. Or 23, sorry.
Yeah.
And we went down into southern Utah near St. George, where it's a lot warmer. And I got on the bike. I fell over. I was on the ground more than I was on the bike, and I was extremely frustrated. I about threw in the towel. I was like, this ain't gonna work. I can't do it. Maybe I should back up a little bit here. When I was on iFit, I followed a iFit trainer there who was a gravel cyclist, and he's the one that kind of got me interested. He didn't know he did, obviously, because he just made videos for iFit, but he's the one that kind of got me interested in trying to ride the bike. And every time that I fall over, I think about what he would say on all his videos, which was keep chasing those horizons, which would help me remember what I learned when I was trying to get out of the wheelchair. Was if I keep doing it over and over and over, I'll be able to do it. And sure enough, there I was able to do it. And then he turned me on to Rebecca Rush and the Be Good Foundation, and they invited me up to ride her race this fall. So you think about it, I've only been riding a bicycle, if you don't count the e-bike and the spin bike, since February of 2023. As a paraplegic who cannot feel my legs, I rode a 57-mile bicycling event, climbed 4,000 feet in elevation.
That's amazing. Yeah, and that's what I was gonna ask. Like you've done some serious stuff. I was looking at your
Yeah,
Instagram. Those are some that's a long ride.
it really is. It took me a long time. I mean, I was way past the cutoff. I think total time I was like 9 hours or something like that to do that 57 miles. According to my computer, I was about, I don't know, 7.5 hours of pedaling time. I mean, it was a slow process, but I had a great support team, and I just so motivated in other people watching me motivated me to want to show them that it could be done. And you know, the keep chasing those horizons theme that I kept hearing on the iFit actually turned into, my God, you are redrawing the lines of possibilities now.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I guess that's kind of the, you know, the gist of the bicycle story. I mean, it there's been a lot of things that, you know, that still come up, you know. For, like I said, I can't push off by myself. So when I actually do take off, when I go cycling from my house, it's easy because I can lean against the porch railing and take off. Through repetition and a dropper post on my bike, you know, to where I can press a button and it drops the seat down so that my legs can, you know, so that my feet can touch the ground. I can stop anywhere I want without falling over. I just can't get restarted again.
Mm.
And so that's been a big hurdle for me. And asking for help is another hard thing as a paraplegic, or as a somebody who has a spinal cord injury, or somebody with a disability. Asking for help is hard for anybody. Usually, it's probably one of the most difficult things that we have to do. I'll keep repeating this. As somebody with a disability, asking for help is almost harder.
Yeah.
Because we want so bad not to have to need help, not to have to ask for help. So when I go ride a bike at these events, or group rides or anything like that, I have to ask for help. And to this day, it's still hard. You know, I'd be lying through my teeth if I told you that I was glad I had this spinal cord injury. You know, that because the spinal cord injury has taught me a lot. It has taken me to a lot of places I don't think I would have gone before. And I believe that everything happens for a reason. But I don't like the fact that I need a wheelchair and crutches.
Sure.
I don't like the fact that I need help carrying groceries into the house. You know, I don't like the fact I need help to ride a bike. It all goes back to when I'm on that bike, I'm normal. If I'm not climbing big, massive hills, I can ride 100 miles by myself. And every person that sees me just thinks that guy's freaking nuts for riding his bike out here right now. You know?
That's not, well, you want to be normal. That's not normal, Jeremy, you know?
Well, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that one time, and I know everybody has a story, and I love hearing every one of them because they all inspire us. But for me, it's that time, and that short period of time, that I'm not crippled anymore because I'm able to pedal that bike. And I had that feeling when I was on the e-bike. That's why I put 600 miles on it that first summer that I had it. You know, even though I was out there throttling around, you know, everywhere I needed to go, I could still spin my legs and look like I was riding a bike, which made me feel like I was riding a bike, which made me happy. The dopamine fix was crazy. I loved it. I couldn't get enough of it. So back up again, I guess, just a little bit
Yeah.
on the not being happy about needing the wheelchair and the crutches. Even though I'm not happy about it, I can tell you that it probably is one of the best things that's happened to me, simply because it's taught me how to live my life and be happy. It's taught me how to, well, the injury and cycling, I guess, the combination of the two has taught me how to be proud of myself,
Yeah.
how to be grateful for the things that I can do,
Mm.
and have the ability to build off of them. And I think it all starts in our mind. Our mind is such a powerful tool, and we all get ingrained in us. People have taught us our whole lives, somebody like you can't do that. You're not supposed to do that. But I'm here to tell you, if you believe you can, you may not be able to do it like you used to be able to do it, but I can tell you, if you try hard enough, you're gonna be able to do it. Even if you need adaptive equipment, you can still have the same feeling, the same enthusiasm as you used to have, which is going to make you feel good.
Yeah. No, I love how you're talking about how, just feeling that normalcy, right? And just
Yeah.
that dopamine fix. And, we've all felt that, right? Riding bicycles as kids and as adults and everything. But I think, your enjoyment and your level of having that feeling is just another level, right? Because of all of the difficulties that led you to that point. So,
Right.
so inspiring. I thank you, Jeremy, for sharing that, and then just putting it out there too. So, like, that
Yeah.
was the next question I was going to ask you, right? Like,
Yeah.
what goals do you have coming up? How do you want to, advice you give to people, or different things you're putting out there? Because a lot of people just want to, maybe keep it to themselves or whatever. But
Right.
that's how I found you, was through Instagram, and I saw your story and I was blown away by it.
Yeah. So I think the laying it all out there, the vulnerability really helped me, putting it out there. I never really had social media. My wife and I got a joint Facebook account to keep up with family things that are going on, because we got family scattered throughout the country. But this was something I decided when I was going to go ride this bike without a motor on it, that I was going to share it with everybody. And I learned about the social media through the cycling community, just by reading about it. And that's when I realized, if I put this out there, people like it. They get motivated by it. They get inspired by it. And I couldn't believe that I was actually out there motivating and inspiring people. So the more vulnerable I was about what I was doing, the more motivated I was to keep trying. And that's the social media. My Instagram is Para Gravel Cyclist, which I think is pretty cool. I couldn't believe nobody had taken it.
Well, I can believe that. I can believe that, Jeremy.
I got it. I thought everybody'd want that one. That was like a hashtag for a username. I was like, this is awesome. So, anyways, I don't know where I was going with that. Dang it.
No, you're good. Just like, just getting putting it out there, getting Instagram.
Right. Yep, I did. I got it out there on Instagram. I started sharing my experiences in cycling, what the things I went through, what the frustrations were that I had, what the feelings I had when I would accomplish things. And I don't have a whole ton of followers. I don't even think I have 300 of them, but I built it all 100% organically since between April and now, and
Yeah.
1st of November, which I think, that may not be a lot to somebody, but to me, it's a ton.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I plan on, keep building off of that. And I hope I can connect with other athletes, para athletes, and even athletes who aren't, because I can learn from you as much as you can learn from me. As far as I've got a couple big things coming up in 2024. I got one that I don't know. I don't have a lot of details on it yet, but it's going to be big. It's going to happen in February, and
well, you don't need to spoil. Yeah, you don't need to spoil it here. I think I'll just stay tuned. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess what I can say is without giving anything away is I'm going to be a para gravel bike packalist now.
All right.
I'm gonna do a big bike packing trip by myself.
Cool.
But yeah, details to come on that. That's going to be super exciting. I'm really excited to be able to share that process on building up the strength to be able to do that, as well as the knowledge to do it. And of course, I'll go back to Rebecca's Private Idaho. I'll go back there forever and ever and ever. That is one event that I think everybody needs to try and be a part of, because the inspiration that is felt throughout that community that's there during that event is so strong that, I mean, you wake up with a smile on your face, even if you don't want to get out of bed. That's how good you feel there. That's how good everybody makes you feel.
Yeah. So tell me about what is this event? It's in Idaho. What is it?
Yeah. So this is the Rebecca's Private Idaho. It is, this year it was over Labor Day weekend. It's put on by Rebecca Rush herself and the foundation that she started, called the Be Good Foundation, which I should know more about it, but I don't. I do know, I just don't know how to put it into words.
Yeah,
so
you're
good. The cycling event, it's a stage. So she has different events. There's a stage race, and then on the last day is there are several different events. Lengths of events that range anywhere, I think, from a 17-mile ride to a 57 or 56-mile ride, up to the final event of the stage race, which was about a 103-mile ride. And Rebecca's Private Idaho is super big into the paracycling community, into helping para athletes achieve the goals that they want to achieve. I think there's 1,600 riders that show up for this event. It's something I think everybody needs to look into. It's RebeccasPrivateIdaho.com.
Cool.
Yeah.
No,
and then I, as far as me personally, I guess the last thing I got personally going would be, I've got a website that's going to be going live here shortly. A kind of a blog website, paragravelcyclist.com, and that will hopefully be live here in a couple of weeks.
Awesome.
I think everybody needs to check that out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I love, again, I ran across your Instagram recently, and I love the story that you put on there. And, even, all your videos showing the process of how you get on and off your bike, and just of riding and getting through things. So it's very inspiring.
Well, good. Well, thank you. And there again, that's all that vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
The next one I put on of me getting on and off a bike, hopefully it'll look a little easier. Because you keep doing it.
Yeah.
And you learn different ways to do things.
Yeah.
Different ways to make things happen.
Absolutely. And so you've given a lot of really good advice, Jeremy, as you talked this through, and shared about how this has helped your mental health and just overall wellness. Any last thoughts? Any last bits of advice that you'd give to somebody? Maybe they've gone through something difficult like you, or even if they're just thinking about getting into riding. What advice would you give to people starting out?
Okay, well, I guess sometimes we all want to give up. Sometimes I want to give up. And I think to myself, why don't I just be crippled like I am? Why am I trying to do this kind of stuff? And maybe I need to stop trying to fool myself. It takes so much effort to do things. Put on my socks, brush my teeth, get dressed, to putting on shoes if I'm going to ride my bike, to trying to get a foot clipped in so that my heel doesn't turn over and catch the crank arm or the chain and get tangled up and knock me over. My biggest piece of advice there is not to let thoughts like that cloud your judgment, because those kind of struggles that you have will start happening less frequently, and I'll call it that depressive stage won't last as long as it used to, as long as you keep trying. You've got to set them hard goals, and you've got to keep chipping away at them. To support a family and friends. Me, I mean, I'll give anybody that wants it my phone number. Call me. I'll support you.
Yeah.
I'll motivate you to keep trying. And I guess just to kind of relate back to myself, in the short term, in the short time that I've actually been cycling, I've learned it's in these times of frustration and irritation and depression and fear, that's what makes me stronger mentally and physically. It's those times that make me realize how important setting these hard goals are. Cycling for me has helped me face my doubts, my fears. It's helped me socialize. I now have a routine. I eat better. I'm more active. It's been an amazing experience, and I think if everybody remembers that things will always get better, and not to give up, that they'll have a happy life.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, we all have a story. Every one of us has a story. Every one of us has a struggle. And I love hearing all of them because they motivate and inspire me. So yeah.
For sure.
There it is.
I love it. Well, thank you for sharing your story, Jeremy. This was very inspirational and motivating to me. And I know it will motivate many others. So keep doing what you're doing. Keep on it. I'm excited to follow your journey. And next time I'm down in the Bryce Canyon area, I'm gonna hit you up. I'd love to go for a ride with you.
Yes, absolutely. Please do. Thank you so much, Zach.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Jeremy. Have a great night, and we'll talk again soon.
Okay, buddy. Thank you.
All right.
See ya.
Bye. What an amazing story, and what a great reminder of the power of our minds, the power of our mindset, the power of our attitude. Jeremy could have easily just lived his life in a wheelchair, listened to the doctors, and, like they said, essentially probably not have lived very long, right? But as he was researching things, and as he found some support, and as he was dedicated and determined, and through repetition and not giving up, he's been able to achieve just unbelievable results in his life. And he has felt the amazing power that comes from that, and the happiness that comes from that, and inspiring others to do it as well. I love how he talked about how when he was riding his bike, just that sense of normalcy that came back to him, right? I love that. We've all heard that phrase, right? Jumping on a bike. It's just like riding a bike. There's this feeling of familiarity, this feeling of like peace and just joy that comes from riding a bike. And he felt that. And it's really cool to see him continuing to pursue that now through gravel cycling and inspiring other people as well. So the power of the mind, man, it's a beautiful thing. Amazing. Again, I loved how he talked about the repetition and the dedication that it took to teach himself to do those things. When we're faced with hardships, when we're faced with difficult times, right? We try 1 or 2 times, maybe 3 or 4, and we just think, oh, it's not worth it. It's not going to work. I'm sure it took him hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of times, and continuing through that repetition and through that therapy and through that process, how he was able to build up the strength to be able to do what he's doing. And so, from a physical standpoint, but also from a mental and emotional standpoint, you got to be extremely disciplined and dedicated and motivated and have that growth mindset, that positive attitude to be able to achieve those things. So I was blown away by it. I just got thinking, what's my excuse, right? Like if I try something and it doesn't work out, it's easy for me to give up. But, just thinking of Jeremy and that process of teaching himself how to walk, just unbelievable. So big thanks to Jeremy. Yeah, search him up, Paragravel Cyclist on Instagram. Check out his blog, paragravelcyclist.com. And I guarantee you'll continue to be inspired as you follow him. So share this with others. Thanks again, everyone, for listening. And that's the whole idea here is we want to inspire people to jump on that bike and ride this out.